Welcome to the Human-Animal Connection Show, where we believe we can communicate with all animals. Join us as we explore the 33 principles and healing methods of the human-animal connection. As animal lovers, we know that you share our commitment to making the world a kinder place for all creatures. Together, let's embrace the transformative healing power of the human-animal connection.
Welcome to the Human Animal Connection Show. My name is Mike Overly. I'm your host. And with me, of course, is Jeannie Joseph. Jeannie, hey.
Hey.
What is going on?
Today we're talking about principle number 4 of the human-animal connection method, and it is called sensational awareness. Sense-Sational awareness. And we really talk about how you can really partner up with your intuition. Probably most people listening to this show are people who believe that their intuition is a powerful asset to their personality. And so this this focus is really about using our senses to pay attention to our body sensations, to the gut feelings, to our what feels right in our skin or what doesn't feel right to us. So it's all about that, and how the wisdom of the senses is really a pathway. And that's what we're talking about today.
I love it.
Yeah.
So how then does that help us deepen our connection to our animals?
When we are open to that channel of intuition, that is when we can most deeply communicate with animals, where we can hear what they're actually feeling and where they can hear what we're actually feeling. So it's tuning up that channel of communication and connection. So in any relationship, the better the communication, the better the connection. So when we open that channel of deep listening, you might call it, animals just love it. They're like, wow, you talking to me? That's shelter dogs. They're like, nobody's talked to them. They're just so happy when somebody opens up and starts. First, they're a little like, huh? But then they go, wow, this is cool. A human who can talk.
I get that from Indigo sometimes. When I tune out and I tune back in, she's like, okay, are you listening now?
Right. Indigo's your dog, right? Just for the
Yeah.
listeners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, Sophia, my dog, she really senses when I'm here, when I'm present, and when I'm not. And if I'm paying attention to her, she'll alert me like, hello, where are you? Now I can miss that cue because that's just a subtle, very subtle dog cue. It's not a bark. It's just, sometimes it is a body position, a stillness. She'll sit and look at me a certain way, it's sort of like sideways a little bit. And I know, okay, that means I've been kind of running around or just getting too overamped, and I need to come back down into the peaceful zone. So by paying attention to her body language, I get back in touch with my own senses, realize I'm maybe moving a little too fast or just stressy or something. And she can help me get back into the zone where I'm more peaceful. And that's where I can make better decisions, and where I can really, if I have a choice, I have to make a choice. My intuition, my sensations will tell me one choice feels better in my body than another. And that helps me make the best decision I can.
I love that. I love that. So you mentioned presence. So
Yeah.
how does this awareness help us to be here now?
Yeah. Well, if you're in the spiritual world, you probably heard the advice to be here now, that now is the point of power, as Seth used to say, that we've all had histories, and we've all, have futures that we can't predict. But right now is where we can live. This is where, life is for living, as J. Allen Boone used to say, and this is when we're in our sensory world, we're here now. When we're in our head, we're thinking about, worrying about the future, or dwelling on the past. And those are very human experiences, but animals really are much better at spending the majority of their time in the present. They can succumb to what we succumb to, fears about the future or thinking about the past. It's not that they don't do that, but they do it less, and they're much more easily to give that up. Like, all you have to do is pet them or give them a nice treat or take them for a walk or anything that they really enjoy. And they're willing to let go of all of that in favor of what's happening right here, right now. Yeah, so that's, one of the ways that animals can really enrich our lives is because of their deep commitment to being right here, right now, whatever they see, smell, taste, touch, experience energetically, that can take their full awareness, and it can replace any thoughts or worries about something that happened in the past or something that could happen in the future. So they're really like Zen masters for us to help us be more here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote about this in my book.
Yeah.
And I share that quite frequently with people, and they go, oh yeah, they really do. You know, I mean, it could just take 30 seconds with you petting your dog. Right. Just 30 seconds, and just focus on the dog, and everything else just
kind of fades away, you know, and that's why having sharing your life with an animal is so valuable and powerful, because they can bring us back to the sensation of your hand and their fur, or seeing them, or enjoying them, or petting them, or just being aware of their energy. I just sometimes Sophia will come and sit with me on the couch, and she just looks at me, and it's just so sweet, to have this little being just want to engage in this very pure way, not for anything, not for a treat, just purely out of the desire to connect. And I think we crave that as humans, even if we have people in our lives. Sometimes we're in a hit and miss dynamics with, connecting, but the animals really show us what it's like to just be completely centrally connected, to be really just here in the moment with the animal. And maybe that involves some petting, or maybe it's gazing into their eyes, or whatever that animal prefers. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll even spend time just staring out the back door.
Yeah.
With Indigo. She'll hit on something, and she'll just be kind of scanning, and I'll get curious. I'm like, okay, let's go see what we're looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll just stand there together looking at the trees, or the squirrels, or the birds, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, I heard someone refer to their dog as doing tree trancing, where her dog will just stare at the tree and just go into this like really peaceful, calm trance. And who knows what all the levels that they're engaging on when they're connecting with that tree. It may look invisible to us, but it may not be invisible to them. It may be perceptual to them, or they may be having a conversation, or just getting a healing. The trees are very healing. We feel that when we go out and we are with the trees, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to touch them, but just to be in their energy field can be very, very beneficial. And so animals will do that. And if they are staring at something, there's something that they're engaged with, whether or not we can see it. And with animals, that we've talked about this in another episode. In the shelter, their senses get overwhelmed because there's too much stimulation. There's too many smells, there's too many sounds, too much vision, and they can't do anything about it. In other words, they can't go sniff it, they can't go identify it. And so they're getting bombarded with sensation, but they can't sort it out. What happens, I believe, is my theory, is that their senses get out of order. And what happens is that for a dog, naturally will go nose first. That's how a dog will meet you, is through the nose. They'll see you, they'll hear you, but they really want to sniff you. That's how they're going to get most of their information about what your character is, what you ate for lunch, what your intentions are, if you're friendly, if you're a dog lover or not. They're going to get all of that, through all of their senses, but using predominantly the nose. And so when you can help a dog that's been overstimulated by getting their senses back in order, meaning that where they go nose first, like with a really stinky treat or a really good scent, that if you're doing scent work, that can help them reset their entire nervous system. Because once they're going nose first, then they're not as reactive to movement and things that they see or hear, which can destabilize them if they're overstimulated. So helping the dog get back to nose first is a great way to help your dog get calm. And at the human level, if you understand your own nervous system in terms of what senses bring you the most peace, then you can rapidly get yourself back into a peaceful state. So for some people, that's going to be auditory. And so like just listening to music that they love is going to really put them in that great state. Or the absence of sound, taking away sound if they've been overstimulated auditorily. Or people who are very visual, if they're understimulated, they need to go to the movies or go to for a walk or be out in a coffee shop, see more things. But if you're overstimulated visually, you might want to put an eye mask on or close your eyes for a few minutes, and that's going to help your brain reset. So it helps for both humans and people who share their lives with animals to understand your animal's sensory preferences and your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we have all these different senses. There's things that I think we're not even aware of,
right,
that intermingle with our fields as well. Our animals are able to pick up on things that we just don't get. So
exactly.
yeah, I love paying attention to the dog, and because she gives me so much more, and she enriches my energy more than I could even imagine.
Yeah, yeah. We have this one dog in our therapy program. We have a program called Canines Teach Compassion. We were bringing the therapy dogs in the high school. We have this one dog. He's 7 years old, but he acts like a puppy. So he's got a lot of energy, And one of the things that we're beginning to notice at first is it's very easy to just see him as kind of a rambunctious dog, or even a untrained dog, which is not quite true, because he actually has some training. But one of the things we're beginning to understand is that he or his person takes him on walks through she lives in kind of a rough neighborhood, so he gets to experience different people, homeless people, different things. Some homeless people he loves and he's fine with. Other homeless people he just has a negative reaction. And at first she was like, oh God, how am I going to do about, this dog having these reactions? And then we began to really observe who he's reacting to and who he isn't. And I said, well, this person has a really balanced energy. This looks like a really kind person. This person maybe has some entities or some energetic attachments that aren't so friendly, which is not nice for them. It's a rough experience, that may be part of their whole set of circumstances makes them hard for them to live in their own skin, and then hard to live in the world, But what we're beginning to realize is this dog that seemed to be a hyperactive dog is yes, he's high energy, but also very refined, because it's not all homeless people, it's not all colors of skin that he's reacting to. He's very specific about some people that he's just going to go crazy and bark, and other people it's just like, oh, hi, how are you? So they do sense energy around us. They are very good energy readers if we know how to read their behavior. So I remember I told you about Oscar, my first therapy dog, and how he was with soldiers, and we'd be working with hospitalized soldiers, people with PTSD, and he would go around the circle and he would know exactly who the dog people were, who wanted to engage with him and who he should just pass right by. And so it's a wonderful thing to pay attention to the sensitivities, the sensational attendingness of animals to people. And from them, we can learn a lot. We can learn a lot about how to perceive the world through our own senses.
I love that. That. Well, I had a question about sensory anticipation.
Yeah, this is a really good thing that we help with dogs when we're teaching the focus skill, which is the ability to make eye contact. That's part of our human-animal connection therapy dog training program, is that we want dogs to be really comfortable, really gazing into your eyes, not just giving you a glance, but to really just melt, because it's very powerful healing to just melt into another being's eyes, a being that's very present. And so once they've learned how to focus, where we put the treat right at the top of our nose, right between our eyes, and the minute they look at us, they get the treat. And once they've learned it, then we slow it down, and we slow it down, and we slow it down. So we're slowing it down, meaning that they are watching the treat come from my nose to their nose, slower, 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 slower. They know it's a treat. They know it's going to happen. They've already learned the skill of focus, was our word for look. Some people use look at me, whatever word you want to use is fine, but we use focus because it also relates to the human side, that what you focus on, you get more of. So if you're focusing on joy, you're going to feel more joy. If you're focusing on gratitude, you're going to feel more gratitude. If you're focusing on stress, you're going to get more stress. So we use the word focus because it's part of the human curriculum in our classes. So when we're slowing it down, what we're doing is we're actually entraining the dog to move more slowly and to be in a state of anticipation, which is the opposite of fear. So when a dog is in a state of anticipating something positive, not anticipating something negative, but when they're anticipating something positive, they go out of the fear state immediately and into the, oh, good, what's going to happen? Good. I'm going to get a treat. I'm going to get a treat. I'm going to get a treat. So the anticipation is actually just as rewarding as the treat itself. In fact, more so. So the more that you can extend the cycle of anticipation once the dog knows what you're doing. It won't work if you don't, if they, this is all, once they've learned the skill of this, I look at the person, I get a treat. I look at the person, I get a treat. Once they know that, then I go the next step, which is slowing it down, making them focus on me just a little bit longer. At first, when I'm first training, they're going to get rewarded the second they look at me, because you have to pair the treat with the behavior you want with the treat within 1 to 2 seconds, preferably 1. Otherwise, the dog doesn't make the connection. But once they've made that connection, then we're going to develop it further by asking the dog to focus a little longer and then to delay the gratification. Same with humans. When we know something really good is coming, that lovely feeling of anticipation. Oh man, I'm going to go to my favorite restaurant. It's so much fun. It's even more fun than being there. You know what I mean? So anticipation is something, it's a really powerful tool that's very underused in healing.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And we should teach this to kids.
Yes, we absolutely should teach this to kids. Remember that marshmallow test that was done in the 60s to see, they would tell kids, put them in an experiment in a room and say, here's a marshmallow right in front of you, something very tempting. I'm going to go away, and if you don't eat it, you can have 2 when I come back. That was the instruction. So some kids could withstand the anticipation of waiting, not eating, not consuming it, but waiting for this. And they would do all sorts of things. They would cheat, they would lick their tongue or lick it or touch, they would move it, like smell it, I mean, it was really hard. These were young children, I think. I forget exactly the age, 5 or so, 4, someone young. And what they did a longitudinal study was that they found that the kids who were able to sustain that, to delay gratification, had the highest success rates later in life. So it became very indicative of future ability to manage emotional states. So yeah, this is a great thing to train kids to be able to really enjoy anticipation and to be in the full sensory experience of that. Like, oh, it's coming, it feels good, I'm happy. It's that is really a fun thing, which sounds like it's not a present tense thing, but it actually is a present tense thing, because the only time you can experience pleasure is in the present. Right? We can remember pleasure and we can anticipate pleasure, but the only time you can actually experience it is by being here right now. So it kind of extends the realm of experience of pleasure to be in the sensory world, which is the world of here and now.
I'm craving a marshmallow. Hey, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
We'll be back shortly, right after this, folks. Okay, welcome back to the Human Animal Connection Show. So we were just talking about sensory anticipation, and Jeannie was telling us about the study done with a marshmallow in kids, and I was starting to salivate, so we had to take a break. But I want to talk about pleasure and sensory awareness, right? And what can animals show us or teach us about that?
Yeah, so it's if you've ever seen a horse roll over in the dirt and just relish that, roll and roll and roll and make themselves all dirty, and it usually happens after they've been given a bath by their owner. Let me get the dirt back. But just the pure pleasure of rolling in the dirt. And I remember when I first started volunteering in shelters, this was in Hawaii at the time, and they had just a little tiny, it was a relatively small park in, closed in area with grass. And we'd take these dogs that were in just cement kennels and take them to the grass. And the first thing they would do after they got peaceful, I would do some healing techniques for them, get them peaceful, and then they would just go roll in the grass. And it always made me so happy to just watch this feeling. And I think it's like a chiropractic adjustment. It's like everything for them. They really tune their bodies up to having this little roll. And just watching it made me feel good, just seeing their pleasure and knowing that I had a hand in it, in the sense that I provided it was fun. It was just so beautiful to see how all of their senses are organized around the same experience. Like often for humans, we have split focus. Like we're talking on the phone, our ears are doing one thing, our hands are doing another, our eyes are doing something else. We're multitasking a lot, and our senses are often not working in sync. They're working in separate channels, like, you know what I mean? But when we get them all organized the way animals do, it's a full body experience. It's like a vacation for the senses, to bring all of our senses into order, into alignment, into cooperation. And that experience is very pleasurable. And for those of, when you're making love, that is where you want to be. You want to be here now, right? You want to be fully in the experience, all of your senses that present, as opposed to, oh, what do I have to do later? Or, what about this?
Taxes are due.
Taxes are due. Right. Yeah. Yeah, so I think, one of the ways that it helps us to be aware of animal sensation is to pay attention to them, because often they have messages. Like, there are countless stories of before natural disasters of the animals' behavior changing completely. The birds stopping singing, animals running for higher ground, just all kinds of dramatic behavioral changes. And in fact, China went through a phase where they realized that animals could predict earthquakes, and they started teaching people in this remote location to pay attention to the earthquake alerts, and the animals were absolutely 100% accurate. So they went through, I don't know if they continue doing that, but they went through a cycle of really saying, hey, this is our best early warning system, remote areas where maybe can't get the message to them or whatever. But if they just remember to pay attention to these large animal patterns, not just a single bird, but if all the birds stop singing and moving, someplace, or all the animals start stampeding to higher ground. Before tsunamis, in Indonesia, the animals, many of them started to leave. They went for higher ground. So
yeah, well, they're tuned in, right? This goes back to the energy and the fields that are always around us that we just don't have a sense of, most of us. And they're just constantly tied into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a little tiny bird would fit in the palm of your hand. Not that you should hold it, but that's just to give you a sense of size. It's called a veery bird, and they have a very specific sort of seasonal schedule for what they do. Mating and nesting and then migrating. So they have this very routine, but because of climate change and everything, their schedules have been changing. And the other thing is that scientists have discovered that their ability to predict hurricane season is impeccable. Like if they know that a hurricane season is coming, I mean, we're talking months away, several months away, they will back time their whole procedure of mating and nesting and all of this and flying to avoid that. And there were a couple of years where the National Weather Service was predicting, it's going to be a mild season, but the birds said, no, it's not. And they started doing everything early, and the birds were right. So they had data, so to speak, sensory data, months before our most advanced scientific data could. So this is why it's so important to pay attention to the animals who are deeply tuned into the senses, even pertaining to the earth and changes in the earth and in weather and so on.
Yeah, I think even in this country, many years ago, we were more in touch with our environment and nature.
Yeah.
Being able to, just see clouds, but then you could smell the moisture. You say, oh yeah, there's rain coming.
Oh yeah.
And now we just I don't know what that is, right? So
exactly.
And the weather apps are wrong consistently.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I remember I used to be in the movie business, and when I was in Hawaii and we were working with our on a film that took place with a lot of scenes, surfing scenes, and we had this, Hawaiian man who was just absolutely amazing. And in the movie business, the most expensive thing is to move the crew and the equipment. That's where you lose a lot of money, you lose a lot of time, and we're talking, you could lose $50,000 by making a wrong call on the weather. So it's or not 50,000, even more, depending on the size of the crew, but lots of money could be wasted with movement that shouldn't happen. So sometimes in Hawaii, it would rain, and, we would need to know, is this a short rain that we should just, stand back and take a 15-minute break and then go right back to it? Or is it going to be a long rain? And, as Caucasian people, we had no clue, right? The weather report, and these are the little rains that aren't in the weather report, in the mountains by the water and everything. And so we would turn to Brian Keolana, he was amazing. And we would say to him, it would start to drizzle, whatever. And we'd turn to him and say, what do you think? And he would look at the ocean, he would look at the clouds, and he said, it's going to rain for 11 minutes. And he was absolutely right. It's like, how, I mean, wow. We would all just like chicken skin, how does he know this? But he was so precise. And, that was worth its weight in gold, because we knew whether to wait it out or we had to change location, do another shot, which was, enormously expensive to to move a whole cast and crew and all the trailers and makeup and everything, so to be able to know that, and that, this was a man who was, in the water a lot, very in tune with the creatures in the water, and just very attuned to the earth's rhythms, because you, as a professional surfer, you have to be paying attention to the changes. And, in the Hawaiian culture, they would navigate by the stars, before there was instruments and stuff. They could do these long voyages like the Hokulea, and they would recreate these voyages. Now they do them now where they recreate this and with instruments for backup, but using those ancient methods. So by being in touch with our sensory and intuitive, our higher senses, not just our 5 senses that we know about, but our proprioceptive senses, which is our sense of energy field around our body, energy around our body, which is like with animals, like with horses. Like, you don't want to just go walk up to a horse and immediately just connect. You want to move slowly so the horse can feel your energy merging with his energy or her energy. That's something that as humans we can benefit by remembering our more refined senses.
Yeah. Well, Indigo, she tells me frequently how she's feeling, right? Energetically. Yeah. And if my energy is a little tweaked and off, she's like, I'm just going to move out of this space.
Exactly.
And, and she's so smart and knows how to take care of herself in that way, where most of us are like, I feel icky and I don't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great.
I know, it's really interesting, and to just pay attention to that. Oh, okay, maybe I'm a little tweaked out right now, and that's why she's going in the other room. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sophia, my dog, So yeah, that attending to what they're attending to can really help us. It's like a training to get us more in sync with our senses, to share your life with a being who's predominantly in their senses. Yeah.
That's perfect. That actually brings me to my last question. Yeah. It was, what is the connection between your sense of safety and sensory awareness?
Really good. Yeah. So I talk in the human animal connection, we talk about something I call the safety tank, which is kind of like the metaphor of a gas tank. It can be completely full, it can be completely empty, anything in between. So I believe that we have a sense of safety, like we either feel safe or we don't feel safe. But often we're not paying attention to that because it may not be politically correct. I'm driving through this neighborhood and I shouldn't be a racist. I shouldn't feel unsafe, but I do. What is going on? What is the issue? So, there are so many ways that we short circuit our sense of safety that we actually lose the ability to connect with it, which can come back very quickly once you pay attention to your body. So it's the same way the dog is sensing, oh, this is a nice person, I want to go say hi. You can sense that too about people or events or situations or places. You can tune in to your sense of safety. Does it feel safe to go to this place? It's not a judgmental that the place is right or wrong. It's just maybe it isn't safe for you. And that safe could be just maybe there's someone there that's really stressed or whatever, and you just don't want to be there right now. So paying attention to your own sense of safety comes through paying attention to your senses in the body. Does it feel good? Do I want to move towards this person or this situation or away from it? And if you look at the animals, they're towards and away. We're going to do a whole show on this, towards and away, because it is so important that animals, because they're in their senses, they have an immediate sense. I want to move towards this person or I don't want to move towards this person. I want to move away from this person or situation. And that is such a beautiful thing. And when we're paying attention to our sense of safety, then we can feel, once again, our safety tank, whether it's high or low, and it can change. Somebody says something mean to us and our sense of safety can just drop. And then we talk to ourselves and say, you know what, that person's just having a bad day. It's not about me. And our sense of safety can go back up. So it's a constantly moving thing. It's not like you have a fixed level of safety, but some people have a high level of safety and they're very resilient in all kinds of situations. And if your sense of safety is low, like you're not feeling well or you haven't slept well, your sense of safety can be, you're more vulnerable emotionally.
Yeah. Again, I see that with Indigo and a neighbor of mine. She's a very nice woman, but she's stressed a lot, and and I can feel her energy too. She gets really tense, and when she's that way, even though she has this different mask on, Indigo's like, "Whoa, hey, no, back off! I don't want you touching me."
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, good indigo, good doggy.
Oh yeah, she's good doggy.
Yeah, that's such an important thing to pay attention to, because it doesn't mean it's a bad person, it just means they could be stressed. And one of the things that's hard for animals don't mind if we're scared, animals don't mind if we're mad, animals don't mind if we're sad. What they mind is pretending to be happy when you're mad, or pretending to be happy when you're sad. That's confusing for them, because they're getting two messages that are contradictory. So they can handle us genuinely being any emotion that we have, but they're going to prefer us to be in a congruent state, meaning we're not faking it. That is a good little introduction to the world of the senses, and how sensational awareness, the awareness of the senses, can really improve the quality of our life. And by paying attention to the way our animals are sensing the world, we can get a lot of information that makes our life even easier and more joyful.
Yeah. Yeah. Wake up, folks. Wake up. Your animals are talking to you.
Yeah.
Always.
Always. So have fun with that. Have fun just getting into your senses and paying attention. If it's hard for you, some people are like, I don't know where my body is. It's here, but I don't feel anything. Well, let's look at how's your dog doing? Let's start with just observing, is your dog feeling comfortable? Is your dog feeling stressed? Is your dog avoiding you like that neighbor? That's how we can jumpstart our own connection to our own senses.
I love it. Great idea. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for another great episode.
Yeah.
I look forward to getting on the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we're going to be talking about animal presence, how they master the present.
Oh, yes. Love it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah,
and we
thank
will
you.
see you soon.
Thank you for tuning into the Human-Animal Connection Show. Please visit our website, thehumananimalconnection.org. There you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or book a consultation, or check out our blogs and resources. Our best-selling book, The Human-Animal Connection, is available on Amazon. And your donation of any amount keeps our nonprofit organization providing life-changing services. You can reach Michael Overly, author of Let Your Dog Lead, Musings on How to Create an Exceptional Life, on his website at dogsandmen.com, or email michael@dogsandmen.com.